Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, on September 13th, Canada's unified featherweight champion, Jelena Mrdjenovich, the incomparable Jelena Mrdjenovich, is going to be in action against Mexico's own Marisol Corona. And this will be Jelena's second fight of the year. With that, she's having a busier 2019 than what was her 2018. She only actually fought once last year. These things in mind, Marisol Corona, she's a relatively unheralded opponent. She's in no way, shape, or form on the level of Jelena and what other elite level fighters there are out there in the featherweight division. But
keep busy for a reason.
The way this reads to me is
sharpening the tools for somebody.
Jelena's getting ready for something. She's getting ready for something bigger, something better. What could be a harder fight, because you'll notice, okay, now she's busier this year than she was last year. What could be in the works? What could be in the wings that she is preparing for? Where she only fought once last year, this will be her second fight of this year. So what could be going on at featherweight that would leave Jelena so inclined to stay ready, to stay sharp? What's happening? I'll tell you what's happening. Amanda Serrano is going to be squaring off against Heather Hardy very soon. Heather Hardy, who just so happens to be the WBO champion at the weight. And while the winner of that fight is said to be contracted to square off against Katie Taylor, here's the thing. We don't know with an absolute certitude that the winner of this fight will go directly into a Katie Taylor fight. Katie Taylor, who's scheduled to be coming back to the ring very soon in the fall over there in the UK, you understand? We don't know that the winner of this fight is going to go directly into that fight, because Katie Taylor, she does have obligations as a champion, and so long as she is a champion, so long as she plans to remain a champion, she's got to fulfill those obligations.
Those mandates.
Chantel Cameron actually has more of a claim
to fight Katie
towards a Katie Taylor fight than the winner of this fight. These two girls, this is a fight that's happening at featherweight, whereas Chantel Cameron is the mandatory challenger for the green belt.
Katie's belt.
And we don't know that, sometime in between now and then, the WBC won't order that fight. You see what I'm getting at? That it's not an absolute certitude that the winner of this fight goes directly into that fight.
With Katie.
That fight with Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor, she may end up defending the green belt. She may end up going to 140 pounds and fighting a world champion up there, because that's what the news seems to be. A lot of things could happen. It could break down a lot of ways. But the winner of this fight may not go directly into that fight.
Plus, Katie might be busy.
In which case, that opens a window of opportunity for Jelena Mrdjenovich, a champion at the weight, the only unified champion at this weight. That's a window of opportunity for her to step into the picture and square off against the winner of this fight. That is what I think she's preparing for. That is what I think she's doing here. That is why I think she's keeping the tools sharp. Very similar to what we saw Delphine Persoon doing ahead of the Katie Taylor fight. It's a sport of boxing, folks. There's a lot of moving parts and things don't always go to plan. I mean, I'm not saying that the winner of this Serrano versus Hardy fight won't eventually fight Katie Taylor. I'm just saying that it might not be in the immediate future. And if it's not, Jelena Mrdjenovich may in fact be preparing for just such an eventuality, just such an outcome. And I like the proposition of that. I like the proposition of titles being consolidated between champions in the featherweight division. For Heather Hardy, for Amanda Serrano, a fight with the likes of a Jelena Mrdjenovich, if you ask me, a fight with the likes of her is long overdue. The both of them have not yet faced a champion, a fighter of Jelena's caliber. They really haven't. A fighter the caliber with the experience and the scalps, the straight right hand or the sharp left hook of a Jelena Mrdjenovich. Neither Heather Hardy or Amanda Serrano has ever fought someone quite like this. So if things don't go to plan with the Katie Taylor fight, I'll take this and I'll be happy with it, because I feel that a fight between these champions actually has more of a competitive element than any of them versus Katie Taylor. And that's the intrigue, folks. That's the sizzle in the sport of boxing, when you don't quite know how it's going to work out, when there's an element of intrigue to where both combatants actually stand a chance. The Amanda Serrano versus Heather Hardy fight, that's a featherweight contest. You do realize that, right? It's a featherweight contest, which means if the winner of the fight were to walk directly into a Katie Taylor fight, they would be doing so jumping 2 weight classes. Now, this could have been avoided had Amanda Serrano simply moved down from 140 to 135 way back when, but for some reason, she went all the way down there to 115, I think it was, and now she's at 126. You see what I'm getting at? That right now, you know, the winner of this fight would effectively be jumping 2 weight classes if they were to walk directly into a Katie Taylor fight. Whereas if they stayed right there and squared off against Jelena Mrdjenovich, you know, it's got more of a competitive element to it.
No weight jumping.
And this would bring consolidation to the featherweight division, the kind of consolidation that it needs, the kind of consolidation that it hasn't had in years. We would be one step closer to seeing an undisputed champion at that weight. And I dare say that if it happened that way, if the winner of Serrano versus Hardy were to square off against Mrdjenovich, the winner of that fight would receive a significant profile boost as a result of that fight. So back to my original point. If we're seeing that Jelena Mrdjenovich is being a bit more busy in 2019 than she was in 2018, I think, I'm of the opinion that she's doing so to keep the machine well-oiled, in preparation for just such an eventuality. That if the window of opportunity should be there for her to square off against the winner of that fight, she wants to be ready for it. So keep your eyes peeled for the return of the unified featherweight champion, Jelena Mrdjenovich, who's going to be back in action on September 13th. In other news, the shameless clout chasing in the heavyweight division from one Deontay Wilder continues in a post that he made on Instagram in regards to his journey and how he's going to unify the division, and it's going to start with his announcement of the Luis Ortiz rematch, which is coming soon. An announcement that's been coming for about, what?
For months.
2, 3
Going on 4
months now or something like that. I mean, this fucking dude is just so determined to crash the party, to try to steal their thunder and funnel attention over to himself because he knows and his team knows he doesn't have a heck of a lot going on. I touched on this in my previous video, and this is just another chapter in that same fucking book. I mean, how much do you really want to be the undisputed champion when you've passed on this opportunity about 5 times already, with offers that have become increasingly bigger over time, just for you to
Clout chase.
consistently, almost strategically, talk about becoming an undisputed champion as soon as you see Anthony Joshua has something else going on, something that doesn't involve you. If I didn't know better, I'd have to say that Wilder is trying to funnel attention to his run-of-the-mill, basic-ass fight with Luis Ortiz, if it ever actually comes off, because he knows that that fight in and of itself, as a standalone fight, is not a fight that's receiving the same reaction. His rematch with Ortiz is not receiving the same reaction as Joshua's rematch with Ruiz. And he's just trying to mimic that guy. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. And at a time when, you know, Joshua's getting attention for the rematch, Ruiz is getting attention for the rematch, little old Wilder and his prima donna behavior with his delusions of grandeur, he wants some attention too. He feels left out.
He sees what the headlines are.
He sees what story at heavyweight is dominating the headlines and is grabbing everybody's attention, from the pros to the pundits to the boxing community at large. He sees who everybody's talking about in the heavyweight division, and it ain't him.
Or his rematch.
It's not Wilder, you know. It's not Tyson Fury in his upcoming fight without O'Valin. That's a fight that has almost no buzz.
None.
At all.
Zero.
All you can hear about in terms of what's going on at heavyweight right now is Joshua, Ruiz, and the rematch. That's about it. And Wilder, he wants to get some attention for himself. He wants to piggyback the synergy that fight has, those two guys and their rematch, what synergy they've created with each other. He wants to piggyback that shit and try to get some for himself, some attention. It's disgraceful, it's shameless, it's effeminate, and it's downright parasitic. The way this guy's always got a coattail, piggyback, anything involving Joshua, Anthony fucking Joshua. He's been doing this shit for like 2 fucking years, and it's disgusting. It's fucking pathetic. And what's even more pathetic than Wilder's shameless attempts to funnel attention to himself in light of the news that the World Tour has kicked off for Joshua versus Ruiz 2, what's even more pathetic, what's even more stupid than Wilder himself are his fans. I mean, take a look at this specimen. Mara Amsterdam left this comment under my video about how Wilder's a fucking clout chaser 9 hours ago. And this glue-eating potato head says that Wilder's been a champion for 6 years. Now, this is a guy that obviously can't add or subtract, because Wilder became the WBC champion in 2015, and here we are in 2019. Hasn't even been 6 fucking years. This guy's so slow, so fucking stupid, that the same phone that he used to type out this idiotic comment comes with a calculator in it. But this dumb motherfucker never thought to use it, because if he did, he'd know. 2015 to 2019 ain't 6 fucking years. And these are the kind of guys that Wilder's core fan base are comprised of. Guys that'll say things like, yeah, he'll knock out Tyson Fury. Hey, newsflash, genius. He already fought Tyson Fury, and he didn't knock him out. And after the fight, the world wasn't saying, yeah, Wilder knocked him out. No, the world was saying Tyson Fury got robbed. Now, you can live in your bubble, in the confines of your own home, where Deontay Wilder is God, and he really won the fight. You can do that in the privacy of your own home. But when you leave this kind of stupid shit in the comments under my videos, I'm going to point it out, I'm going to highlight it, and use it as an example of how Wilder's idiotic, temperamental, and effeminate behavior only really speaks to a certain kind of person, only a certain demographic of people. Because most grown men, they just see this shit as shit that a girl would do. That you trying to get attention for yourself because you're jealous. You feel left out. You're an attention whore. Whenever this guy's got something going on, you want to act like you got something going on.
But you
Whenever
don't.
this guy's making news, you want to do something so you could try to make some news.
He's a fucking wannabe.
And these shameless attempts for attention are only justified by the most beta of beta males, the kind of guys that actually identify with this kind of bitch-assness, to where you really ain't got nothing going on, and you see that the other guy's getting attention, and you want to get attention too, just because he's getting it. If he wasn't getting attention right now, if he didn't have nothing going on, you probably wouldn't be saying a word, but because he's getting attention, you want some of that too. Okay? That's some girl shit if there ever was some girl shit. And only these girl-ass motherfuckers identify with that shit. That's the truth of it, okay? These estrogen-fueled, YouTube commenting, Facebook group joining motherfuckers is the only ones that think it's okay for Wilder to clout chase Anthony Joshua for 2 whole fucking years, going on 3. All while refusing to actually fight the guy. When offers are on the table, when your schedules are free, when they're offering you career-high paydays, you'll have none of it. But when you see he's got another dance partner, oh, you want to talk yourself up in your fucking journey. Fuck your fucking journey. How about that shit? Because if you really wanted to be the undisputed champion, if you cared so fucking much about that journey, you wouldn't have booked yourself up for the next 2 fights. Okay? Ortiz, Fury, remember all that fucking shit? At a time when there's an offer on the table for you to become an undisputed champion, what'd you do? You walked away from it, right? So now all of a sudden you care again? Get the fuck out of here, man. Moving on.
Maybe find that same result happening over and over again in my career.
If you win, will you give him a rematch?
No? I'm going to fight some guy from the pub. That's what the heavyweight division does, isn't it? Like, why am I fighting all these solid contenders? I'm going to fight an easy fight after that.
So knock on Fury and his opponent?
Yeah.
Just in keeping with the theme of Anthony Joshua's upcoming rematch with Ruiz, he was addressing what he may end up doing after the fight. That, he might end up taking his foot off the gas, fighting a couple of Otto Valens, maybe a Tom Schwartz, here and there. And it's all tongue-in-cheek. It's all said in jest, because in reality, we know who the winner of that fight is going to have to fight or face the repercussions from the IBF. They've already stated quite plainly that the winner of that fight must face Kubrat Pulev. But we know all this already, and these are obviously just jokes coming from Anthony Joshua, but he is poking fun at something that is very real. That these are the guys in the heavyweight division that are supposed to be who's who guys. They get to take all these lighter touches with impunity, whereas he's being held to some other standard than they are. Gotta understand something. Both Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury debuted as professionals in 2008.
I thought it was 9.
That means both them guys, they got what, roughly 10, 11 years in the game. They both debuted in 2008. Hell, I thought Wilder debuted in 2009. Apparently it was 2008. A year sooner than I thought. You look at that and you wonder, okay, well, how many top 10 guys have they actually faced in their careers? And it just so happens that, Anthony Joshua's onto something. He has faced more top 10 fighters in his 6 years as a professional than they have in their roughly 10 or 11 years as professionals. Do a head count. How many top 10 fighters has Tyson Fury actually fought?
How many?
Vladimir Klitschko, that's 1, and Deontay Wilder, that's 2.
10 or 11 years.
You look at Wilder, okay, how many top 10 fighters has he fought? Bermane Stavern, when he was the WBC champion,
Uno.
That's 1. Luis Ortiz,
Dos.
That's 2. And you really can't call Tyson Fury a top 10 fighter at the time that they fought, because at the time that they fought, Tyson Fury was coming off a hiatus. He was coming off a stint of inactivity. He was on the rebound. He hadn't actually done anything to establish himself as a top 10 fighter. But let's just say, for argument's sake, he was. Let's call him a top 10 fighter just for argument's sake, just for the fuck of it. That would mean that in 10 or 11 years, Wilder has only faced 3 top 10 fighters. That's it. In 10 or 11 years. You look over at Anthony Joshua.
Do a head count.
Fought Charles Martin, who was the IBF champion and a top 10 fighter at the weight.
That's 1.
He fought Joseph Parker, the WBO champion, another top 10 fighter at the weight.
That's 2.
He fought Vladimir Klitschko, the former unified champion.
That's 3.
Now that's 3. 3 top 10 fighters.
4.
Fought Dominic Breazeale, who at that time, back in 2016, was ranked as a top 10 fighter. That's back when he was undefeated. It's not like when Wilder fought him. You understand? When Wilder fought him, he wasn't ranked as a top 10 fighter. But when Anthony Joshua fought him, and when he was still undefeated,
There's 4 top 10
he
fighters.
was a top 10 guy.
5.
He fought Carlos Takam, yet another top 10 fighter, who was ranked as a top 10 fighter at the time that they fought, the month of their fight, in October of 2017. That's yet another top 10 guy that Anthony Joshua fought.
6.
Fought Alexander Povetkin, who was ranked as a top 10 fighter the same month of their fight and is still ranked as a top 10 fighter today. That's 6 top 10 fighters in only 6 years. Whereas you look at Tyson Fury, you look at Deontay Wilder, and they haven't fought as many top 10 fighters as this guy, yet they've been around longer. And you think about the sequence of events that could take place. That if Anthony Joshua beats Andy Ruiz in a rematch, that will be the 7th. The 7th top 10 fighter that he's faced in only 6 years as a pro, basically. I mean, yeah, that's the way it breaks down. And you think about what comes after that. The winner of that fight must face Kubrat Pulev. That's what's waiting for the winner of that fight. Kubrat Pulev is ranked here today as a top 10 division-by-division fighter. That's what he's ranked as. So if Joshua fights him and beats him, that will be
The 8th.
top 10 fighter that he's fought. Could be the 8th top 10 fighter that he's beaten. So you think about what Anthony Joshua says, and then you do the legwork, you do your homework, and you see that this guy's not just making jokes. There's a lot of truth in what this guy's saying. The guys like Wilder, guys like Fury, they fight a halfway decent fighter or a decent fighter, and every so often they find the time to fight a top 10 guy, and then they just take their foot off the gas and everybody gives him a pass for it. Whereas Anthony Joshua's road to establishing himself as a top 10 fighter at the weight has consisted of unseating and defeating more division-by-division top 10 guys than either Tyson Fury has or Deontay Wilder has. Yet they're the guys beating their chests, saying they're the best in show. They're the boisterous ones. Yet when you go to see if the proof's in the pudding, all you see is a halfway empty cup. It's funny because we're calling Tyson Fury at the time of the Wilder fight a top 10 guy, but that really is based on what he did in the fight and what he was ranked as after the fight. Does he really count as a top 10 guy for Deontay Wilder? You think about that. If we do for Dillian White what we just did for Tyson Fury, because Dillian White is a top 10 fighter today, that's what he's ranked as. And if we do that for Dillian, that would be yet another top 10 fighter that Anthony Joshua beat. Essentially what I'm getting at is, this guy's not lying when he says what he says about these guys. That they might fight a halfway decent fighter, but afterwards, it's ultimatum soup. When there is a clear and apparent disparity in the consistency and overall quality of their competition.